This week on the Virtual Skeptics, Bob discovers a new disease that he doesn't already have. Eve finally admits she's white. Okay, awkward. And Tim blurs the news. I'm your host, Brian Gregory. And tonight, I am enhanced. See? I'm enhanced. And why is that not working? There we go. See, I'm enhanced. Can you tell I'm enhanced? Everything about me is enhanced. Sorry, it's the Google thing. I don't know. It's enhancing me. I feel enhanced. This is the Virtual Skeptics. Thanks for watching. I'm waiting for the first person to join. Okay. Well, thank you anyway. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. Let me introduce the folks. These people. First up, we got Bob Blaskiewicz, CSI's conspiracy guy, web columnist, blogger for Skeptical Humanities, and Skepticality contributor. Next, we have Eve Siebert, and this is not. I click the thing. There you go. Click the thing, and the thing doesn't do the thing. This is Eve Siebert, editor and blogger at Skeptical Humanities and contributor to Skepticality and Insight without an S at Skeptic.com. That's a different site altogether.
For Coptic Skeptics.
Yes, for Coptic Skeptics, which is just bizarre.
Better than a Coptic linguist.
That's true. Tim Farley, blogger at SkepTools and Insight without an S at skeptic.com. Skepticality contributor, creator of What's the Harm, and former JREF fellow. Hey, what's up, y'all?
How you doing?
Howdy.
Why is this? There's some kind of thing. There we go. That if I click, see, I click these boxes. See, watch. I'll click Tim. And then I'll click. Oh no, didn't work. Click Tim. There you go. Click Bob.
I'm not saying what you were saying.
Click Eve.
Yeah.
And then click me. And I'm supposed to be able to do this so I can control who's being so you can see the people at home can see who is talking. And Google is being rebellious. Damn robots and their rebellion. Speaking of which, okay, let's do the startup stuff. We have two startup things. Well, maybe a couple startup things, but we'll do these two ones. First off, we have our weekly trivia question with Tim. Tim, the trivia guy. Tim, trivia guy. Tim.
About 1 year ago, there's a Belgian organization. It's one of the oldest skeptic organizations called Comité Para. And it dates from 1949. We've mentioned it on the show before. And 1 year ago, on the 19th, so I guess 1 year ago Friday,
yeah.
They made a change. They changed something about their organization. And in September of 2013, the Italian skeptic organization
Wow. I'm not the only one hearing that, am I?
No, it's just wow, that's bizarre. Tim has turned into
Max Headroom.
Tim, you had a Max Headroom moment. I am trying to unmute you now.
Turn it back on. See if it's still there.
I'm trying to. The muted button is... Wow. So I've muted Tim, so we don't get the continuous thing, and it now says I can't unmute him for some strange reason. Tim, can you try to unmute yourself?
Wow.
That's the weirdest thing. It's like the worst sample ever.
I know.
But still, it's our first single, I think. Yeah, it's more listenable than Diddy. Yeah.
Okay, so the beatbox session is now over.
You should probably try coming back in.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Wow.
So, the trivia question, we're going to tweet it out at some point. I think Tim's going to come back in and tweet it out. Let me read it from the log so you guys get the full effect thing. 1 year ago, on June 19th, 2014, a Belgian group called Comité Para which I'm guessing that's the right pronunciation, changed something about their organization on September 24th, 2013. That's a year before, in September. An Italian group, CICAP, made a very similar change. What was it? And that goes out onto the intertubes. If you have an answer, tweet it with hashtag Virtual Skeptics, or comment on the YouTube, or actually, that's the only way we won't respond to the trivia question. If you have a question for us during the course of the show, you can use the Q&A app, and we will try to answer it and tag it in the video so people can find it later. That's the question. And the next thing. Hey, Tim's back. Let's see if Tim's working. Tim, try your beatbox again. Now there's no sound.
This is the weirdest.
And you're muted. And
now unmutificate.
I can't, for some reason, I can't unmute him from here, which is bizarre. Google is having technical difficulties. Please wait, I don't know, an hour before the global apocalypse happens because of Google's AI. Let's move along and let Tim.
How is that?
Hey, look at that!
God!
Yay! So
Switch to a different microphone. Okay, so Committee Para a year ago made a change. CCOP made a similar change. What was that change?
Yep.
Very fundamental thing about their organization that they changed.
Sweet. I read it from the log as well, so you can go ahead and tweet that out, and anybody who wants to answer, go. Awesome. We will have another beatbox session later in the show.
Sorry about that. I can't wait to listen to the recording.
I know. It was not your fault. It was Google. I blame Google, and which means I'm probably going to die first in the coming apocalypse. The secondary quiz we have every week. I have two screens running behind me. If you can figure out what those two screens are playing and add it to one of the social media's responses type things, we will give you credit for, I don't know, something. Thank you very much for playing. And who's first?
You're first.
I hear the stuff. I hear the pounding. The pounding of the coming apocalypse is coming soon. Yes, I've got some robot stuff for you. You want that robot stuff? You want it now? Yeah?
Yay, robot stuff!
Yay, robot stuff.
Are
First,
we gonna
I got what?
Oh, okay, go.
Okay. First off, there's this robot. No, this is not a robot. This is what's her name? Gigi? Ginny. Is it Rometty?
Ginny Rometty.
There you go. She is CEO of IBM. Actually, chairman and CEO of IBM. She gave a talk at a conference this past week called The World of Watson. It's a conference about the ecosystem of Watson, which is their big super brain computer thing. You might know of Watson from this. A few years back, Watson competed on Jeopardy against two of the, a bunch of the big winners from Jeopardy and beat them seriously.
A lot?
Yes,
Wow.
a lot. Look at that.
And then killed them and ate their bones.
I don't have any evidence to confirm that last bit, but apparently she has big plans or big aspirations for the Watson platform and future versions of the Watson platform, while discussing one of the uses of Watson currently going on called Chef Watson, which is a version of Watson that comes up with new recipes.
Yeah, you feed in a random set of ingredients, and it'll give you something you can make out of it. They did an interesting podcast on that on
oh yeah,
what is now called Note to Self, but used to be called New Tech City. It's the tech podcast out of WNYC in New York.
Yep.
And they did one, and it was kind of entertaining to see kind of the off-the-wall recommendation they got.
Well, the only thought I had was that, robots telling us what to eat.
Could be dangerous.
Haven't they seen Futurama?
No kidding.
Because Bender is a terrible chef. I'm just saying.
They could just recommend Bachelor Chow.
That's
Yum.
true. Bachelor Chow is good stuff. Here's the quote from her talk. Let me read it right here. In the future, every decision that mankind makes is going to be informed by a cognitive system like Watson. That's a big thing to say. And sounds a whole lot like a novel I read. Oh, it was a short story in a collection of short stories back. It was written in the 40s. Oh, yeah. Everybody read I, Robot by Isaac Asimov?
Mm-hmm.
The brains. Yeah. So, yeah. These are going to be the brains. IBM is going to make brains. The big brains. And we're all going to be, and she says, our lives are going to be better for it, which, they may be. They may be, as long as they're not going to kill us. So, which one is going to kill us first? IBM or Google's super quantum computer? Who knows? We'll see. It's a race
What is
now.
she? I mean, is she going to market it or something, or?
Well, they do market their Watson systems for applications. So they as far as giving it big data sets and allowing it to make recommendations on stuff. You got something to add, Tim? Because I know Tim's got some inside knowledge on this.
There's a number of products built on top of it right now. I know they're doing some, oddly enough, Twitter analytics and stuff like that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Using Watson, they've got the recipe product, and they're building new things all the time. Anything where you can shovel a large amount of data about some topic area.
Yeah.
And put it in there. So I think they're shoveling what's called the Twitter fire hose, which is a feed of everything that's public on Twitter. They're just shoveling it into Watson, so Watson can digest it all and do comparisons and all the magical things that Watson does.
Do you? I mean, they were going to try to. They were building a system to do medical diagnosis based on large sets of medical records. And I don't know what the status of that is, but do you know anything about
I don't know what the status of it is either, but I do know IBM's got a lot of people working on medical information systems.
Yeah. Well, I'd be very curious to see how that pans out, because I don't know. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems with medical diagnosis in general is it's just histories and getting complete and accurate histories, and making decisions based on that. On a related note, now I'm not going to show this next slide because that's going to be the next story, but apparently there is a deep learning system made in China by the University. This is the University of Science and Technology of China, and Bingao and Microsoft is involved in this. Microsoft in Beijing. They built a deep learning system, probably based on. I don't have any confirmation here, but they have a deep learning system that they've been using for doing audio recognition and image recognition. Microsoft does, but this system can do better on an IQ test than the average person. I mean, that's the big claim. Now, what they actually did is they collected 200 humans by way of a Amazon has a way of getting people to, I guess, fill out surveys.
Amazon Turk.
Yeah,
Mechanical Turk.
Yeah, Mechanical Turk. And so they had 200 humans that they essentially gave the same kinds of questions that are on IQ tests. Now, these are tests. These are kind of questions that are kind of hard for a computer to figure out. And let me give you a couple of examples here. Word classification questions, like which is the odd one out of this set? Calm, quiet, relaxed, serene, unruffled. Now, humans going to look at that and pretty much tell which one do you think is the anyone have a guess what the odd one out is? Anyone listening?
I don't know.
I was going to think that unruffled is not really the same as the other ones, but that's me. And it's kind of a nebulous thing, right? Here's another one. Which word is closest to the word irrational? Intrasigent, which I don't even know what that word is. Irredeemable, unsafe, lost, nonsensical. These are hard questions. Well, apparently...
What was the question?
Which word is closest to irrational in meaning? Intransigent.
Intransigent?
Is that the right way you say it?
Intransigent.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the word off of the thing. I don't. It's whatever.
But I think nonsensical.
Intransigent. That actually makes more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Eve.
Yes.
As usual.
Irredeemable, unsafe, lost, or nonsensical. I would say nonsensical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what Eve said.
Yeah. Okay.
Go with Eve.
I know, I was just thinking that.
Yeah. Apparently these things are hard for a computer to figure out because the words can have multiple meanings and their associations are difficult to figure out and blah, 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 blah. So they figured out how to make this computer analyze these questions and answer them, and they compared to the set of 200 humans that answered these. The results that they got from the humans paralleled their education. So people with high school diplomas only did worse than those with graduate degrees or those with doctorates. That's kind of how it kind of panned out. Their deep learning system did better than the high school diploma people, but not quite as good as the graduate degree people. So it's smarter. I don't know. I don't know what conclusion you can draw from that. It's a very small sample set, but still, it's interesting that they could actually figure out how to get a computer to make these kind of decisions. So, who knows where this is going? Who knows what it really means? It's a small sample set, but it's interesting nonetheless, and somehow it's going to kill you someday. There you go. Now, my final story. Any questions? No? Robots are going to 3D print a bridge. Have you seen this?
Different.
Yeah. Here is a video. Let me put the video up. Now, this is what they're envisioning it to look like. See, they're robots on a bridge, and they're building stuff, and there you go. Wow,
cool.
That's exciting.
Is that a computer animation or is this a prototype actually?
This is a computer animation.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's the guy. You see that?
Cool.
Okay. This is the Dutch designer Joris Lauerman, who created a company called MX3D. He has these 6-axis robots. They're industrial robots with essentially it's a type of welder on the end that gets fed along wire of metal material, and it uses that as a method for additive 3D printing.
Yeah.
What it's doing in this picture right here is it's building a small prototype bridge where it's going across a small span. And in a video he has on... What?
If it's welding, he's frying his eyes.
I don't think it's active when he's that close, because it is pretty bright when it does the welding. But the idea is to make this, eventually build the system to a point where these robots could additively build a bridge while they're on it, including the rails that they travel on, so that they could set it to work. And what they're projecting is 2 months later it would have a completed bridge that would be for foot traffic.
Neat.
Yeah, they're targeting to do this in. There's a question on Twitter. I don't get that. It's targeting to do this in 2017, which means they got some time. They are working with what's the name of the company they're working with? It's actually a good architecture. They know how to do this kind of stuff. Looking at my notes. Autodesk. Applied Research Lab. They actually can do computer-aided manufacturing, and they know a little bit about building stuff. So, and they have a number of other reputable sponsors and people on board. So this is probably going to happen. At this point, I'm not really sure how, because those robots they're industrial robots. They're off the shelf. They're made by a company called ABB. They're very similar to the kind of robots we have. They're very heavy. I don't know what kind of maintenance they require. I mean, for running nonstop for 2 months, I don't know what kind of resources they're going to have in place to do this. But it seems like it's going to be at least a one-time kind of promo, kind of publicity stunt. It would be kind of neat, and maybe set the groundwork for automated building of large structures in the future. We'll see.
Sure. It sounds kind of like in the way that it builds what it is, standing on. It's building its rails and everything. It kind of sounds like when cranes are being, when they're inside the interior of the building as they're building themselves up.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like that.
Well, I'll link to the website. They have example photographs of other things that they've kind of done with this process as far as building, and that example bridge is on there. And he's got a publicity picture where it's out by the water and he's like standing on it. So it is a rigid structure, and you can see videos of it. Actually, they're building like tubes and stuff like that with it, which it seems to me like it's just an extension of technology that exists. But as far as practical use every day, maybe this will give them funding so they can actually build a system that would work. I don't know. It sounds cool. And if robots are doing this, what do we need humans for? So there you go. So they're gonna.
Neat.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the tie-in to the eventual apocalypse. There you go. Any questions? Any questions out there on Twitter?
There was one comment from Mark Price. He said, "As much
over the video, there you go.
As much as I love automation, don't we lose something by not making some basic choices for ourselves?" That was in reference to Watson.
Yeah, and that was one of the concerns I had reading this, and it's interesting because how I related it to the Isaac Asimov book. I mean, in Asimov's book, they had a way of instilling basic morality in these machines, which we have no idea how to do that right now. So it's not the same thing. Now, we build a big decision system. It can go out and look at a data set and give recommendations based on, I don't know, whatever that data is, maybe. But it's what happens. Like, say, what happens if everybody who's doing investments is using the same system or a similar system, and it's got some kind of bias in it or some kind of fault? And does the market crash because it makes the same decisions based on their recommendations?
You have the big market crash of 2008. Is exactly what you have.
So, I mean,
well, don't they have brakes on now?
Well, yeah, in that system, but if you're using Watson as a general purpose advisor and you put too much faith in how brilliant it is, and just do whatever it tells you to do, you're subject to whatever flaws might have gotten built into the system. Or, even if the system is good, it's only as good as the data you shovel into it, and maybe there were flaws in that.
Yeah. Now, in the Asimov book, they cover some of these weaknesses because they suspect that the machines are making bad decisions. Of course, in that perfect world, the machines are making those bad decisions on purpose.
Yeah.
But in this world, we would have no way of knowing, and we may very well just walk into some kind of disaster because everyone is using the same
That's how we know.
recommendations. So, and then we would have the Dune world where we shun technology and develop human minds to do all this stuff.
Have they taken Watson to do military applications with that? Because it seems to me that that's exactly large amounts of data to do tactics and simulations and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
My only comment on that is, how would we know?
Right.
Because it's not like they're going to advertise that application. So.
Well, IBM does stand for the International Business Machines Company, so
that's true.
The company is focused on business technology.
So China stole it and is using it. Okay, thanks.
Well, I'm sure the business of war is not beyond them. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think the important thing with systems like Watson is to treat it as an advisor, right?
Yeah.
Take its opinion,
consider it well, but don't just blindly do what this machine is doing here, because you get these things. There was a story the other day, not the other day, but last year or the year before, because of the rising cost of copper.
Oh yeah.
And economic problems with the British telephone company. It turned out that the company was in dire financial straits and owed a lot of money, but the aggregate value of all the copper wire on all their poles and in all their equipment was like 5 times the value of the company. So the correct decision was to close the company down and sell all that copper. That was the correct economic decision, but you'd be depriving the entire UK of telephone service. So, a machine might tell you to do that, but a person would say, well, we can't do that. We have to have a telephone company.
And there's been a lot of discussion about the risk of having intelligent systems. And one of them is about computers that optimize for a particular set of criteria that turn out to be great for that particular problem, but end up having these disastrous side effects because the computer can't see beyond its own requirements. So
right.
Yeah. So, okay, that's a wonderful discussion. Thanks for everybody who is involved. And I'm gonna let Eve. No, Bob's next. Bob's gonna take the con. Bob, take the con.
I'm up. I thought I was last.
Actually, you're not.
No.
Okay.
Oh, it's Eve. It is Eve. I was looking at the other list. Sorry, Bob.
Okay.
Yes, and Bob and Eve's going to wade into this wonderful, wonderful world of internet stuff. Yes, I'm looking forward to this.
Well, like Rachel Dolezal, I am a white woman. Unlike Rachel Dolezal, I am a white woman. Also, unlike Rachel Dolezal, it has never occurred to me to try to disguise that fact. And if a reporter were to ask me if I'm African American, I might be kind of surprised by the question, but I would not be completely flummoxed.
You might have an answer?
Yeah, I would not say that I didn't understand the question. It's a simple question, really. But really, in some ways, Dolezal and I are not that much alike. Her heritage, according to The Daily Show, which is reliable in all things, is German, Swedish, and Czech. My heritage, on the other hand, is German, Swedish, and English. So completely different, really.
Yeah.
I'm 96% ape.
No, there you go.
You're 100% ape.
No, 96% ape. Modern apes, not ancestor apes.
Mm-hmm.
Go
Okay.
ahead, sorry.
Of course, Rachel Dolezal, as we all know, seen here, the slide that everyone's seen, in after and before pictures, is the former president of the Spokane chapter of the NAACP and an adjunct professor in Africana Studies at some university, Eastern Washington University, and stuff. And in the past week, it's come to light that she's lied about absolutely everything. In particular, though, she's claimed to be black and or mixed race, including on applications for her position as a liaison with the police department, for instance. And every time you think the story can't possibly get any weirder, it's, reached maximum weirdness, it gets weirder. So among the cast of characters are her young Earth creationist parents.
Yeah.
I didn't get that part. They're young Earth creationists?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They went to South Africa as part of Creation Ministries International, which used to be associated with Answers in Genesis.
Yeah.
And they're sort of...
Man.
not survivalists, but
Preppers?
sort of make. No, but the whole thing about living in a teepee, which Rachel Dolezal never did, but they did. Um, Self-sufficiency maybe is more the, and homeschooling. Yeah, there's a whole thing. And all the children have, they're all Zachariah and all these Old Testament names. So yeah, there's that. An
Job.
adopted brother whom she's claimed as her biological son, an random African American man she's claimed as her biological father. Well, not random. He's a friend of hers, apparently. Then her older biological brother is facing felony charges of sexual abuse of a child. Rachel Dolezal has made claims of abuse against her parents, including that when she lived in South Africa, which she never did, they used baboon whips on her and her siblings based on skin color, which, if that were true, she'd be fine because she's the same skin color they are, which is to say, white. But anyway, she was never in South Africa anyway. She's also made claims of abuse against her former husband. She claims that a mentor drugged and raped her. There have been many, many claims of racially motivated hate crimes, and it was one of those that actually caused this whole story to come to light, that questions about an envelope of pictures of lynching that had arrived in the NAACP's post office box but hadn't been canceled and didn't have a barcode on it. And so supposedly had not gone through the post office. That caused a reporter to call her parents and say, "So, is she black?" And they went, "No, not really." And after is what happened. And there are many, many, many accounts of hate crimes. And there are things like a swastika appeared at her previous in place of employment, but the security cameras weren't working at the time because of a power surge several days earlier. Yeah.
What?
Exactly. And then back when she was white, she sued.
You mean today?
She sued her alma mater, Howard University, which is traditionally black university, for racial discrimination against her as a white person. And this lawsuit was extremely unsuccessful. I don't know. It would declare essentially frivolous, and she not only had to pay their legal fees, but a fine. And it's turned out that she's plagiarized at least one painting. And it's not like it's a painter no one's ever heard of. J.M.W. Turner, a painting called The Slave Ship. And it's incorporated within a larger work, and people do things like that, but she never credits it anywhere. And it's very close. So she seems to have immersed herself in African American culture while working on her artwork. Now, in graduate school, I immersed myself in the Middle Ages.
You killed a lot of people, Eve. I hope you're apologizing.
But I didn't stop bathing, and I didn't intentionally contract plague. It was a complete accident when I got plague. It was an accident with a prairie dog. Anyway, and it's such a weird story that
elaborate on the prairie dog incident. I'd love to hear about that.
Oh, I made it up.
Oh, okay.
So it's been all over the news, and people are reacting sometimes in predictable ways and sometimes in strange ways, like the people defending Dolezal. It's like, well, I mean, she's doing good as long as she's doing good work. It's like lied about everything.
Yeah.
Whatever. So you've
It-
got. Mhm.
Yeah, it seems that there are a lot of people who are bringing the race issue as the primary issue, and to
Yeah.
me, I'm like, I don't really see that as the main issue. The main issue is that, well, she was in a position of influence, and she lied a lot.
Yeah.
It happened to be about her past. I mean, essentially retconning her entire past.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So
I
just want to go through some of the things we've gotten about this. Is Fox News has suggested that her story shows that there's no such thing as racism anymore because a white woman wants to be a black woman, and this is dealt with very well on The Daily Show.
yeah.
Others have seriously used the word transracial to discuss racial identity, even though it seems to have been first used in connection to this story by a satirical Twitter account.
Which is awesome. That's true.
Yeah. And
because that's just like the internet. The internet it doesn't matter what source it comes from. It gets repeated if it's good.
yeah.
So.
And then people have compared her to Caitlyn Jenner and other transgender people. It's like, well, if Bruce Jenner can say he is a woman now, why can't this person say he's black?
I saw at least one reference to the movie The Jerk.
Yes.
So.
I saw many
also
references to white chicks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, and I suppose, people are talking about race in different ways, and talking about race is a good thing. But as you said, that it's sort of, well, it's not irrelevant. It's sort of the thing everyone looks at and goes, what? Especially that, the juxtaposed picture of, Anne of Green Gables versus...
yeah. Well, there you go. It's the slide that's up. It's really...
Yeah.
I mean,
someone who still, frankly, looks like a white woman with tanner and curly hair, but still quite a difference. But, and okay, if she did good work for the NAACP, great. But she has lied about freaking everything.
Yeah, I mean, if she lied about her schooling, or which she kind of did, and if she lied about her what country she came from, or if she lied whether or not she's male or female, she lied about anything else but race. She would have just been fired, and that'd be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. She also lied about a bunch of other stuff, but she also but
well, and she's essentially accused
camera.
People of crimes, and I also, by the way, saw people saying, well, yes, she lied, but she was terribly abused as a child, which may be true, but people were very quick to, at least some people were very quick to jump to that conclusion on the basis of A, something a liar has said, and B, the fact that they're creating.
I know. It's yeah.
There's some definitely strange things going on in that family, but she's accused people of crimes. She's wasted police resources in it seems constantly reporting these supposed hate crimes. She's done weird things, like in one of her classes, she wanted examples of various ethnic groups, and she needed a Hispanic, and one girl volunteered, and she said she needed someone else because that girl didn't look Hispanic enough. She's, really just very strange and bizarre things.
I wonder what what a psychiatrist would say about what she's doing.
Yeah, that's something else that's been brought up.
on tonight to give us the more.
Yeah.
I would love to hear what her spin would be on this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
But she doesn't
Well,
watch
if
the
this
show.
story keeps going at the rate it's going, there'll be plenty more to talk about.
Yeah.
that's true.
I mean, in some ways, it's not like I don't have any compassion for her because she seems troubled, but it's not. It's not just race related. Although again, it's such an odd thing, that weird juxtaposition again of the pictures, but there's
it's
so many aspects of her life.
It's not surprising me. It's a common thing actually for people to make up stories for attention, or for other reasons. So I'm not saying that's what she's doing. I'm just saying that that would be enough to explain it for me. So
yeah. One thing though, I think we should address it is the comparisons between transgender and transracial, which seems like a poor analogy.
See, that's the same.
Right, because for one thing, generally speaking, race is considered a social concept rather than having a major biological factor. Whereas gender, there does seem to be more of a biological component with their twin studies and of gender identity disorder. And it's certainly not the same thing as Caitlyn Jenner, because Caitlyn Jenner wasn't lying about, again, absolutely everything. It's not just about, because talking about racial identity and the fluidity of racial identity, that's fine. This is not the person to be using as an example, because she's, I think, on her own level of existence, her own reality. And now she's at all her interviews recently, where she still hasn't really said, "Yeah, I'm totally white," or anything like that, or admitted really that she's done anything wrong. So
I'm just at this point. I'm just waiting for the story to go away, because because really, I think it's just a case of someone who's lying.
It's kind of interesting though that so many people have looked at it and have seen whatever they want in it. It's kind of like a perfect metaphor.
It has started a lot of interesting dialogue.
Yeah.
I saw some people who were angry that she had appropriated like black culture, and that struck me as like, no, culture.
No,
like
I think that's fair enough to a degree, because it's not just that she's using African Americans in her art, including things called, the author or the painter. But at least in social media and interviews, she's chastised people for, well, you don't have the experience of the lash on the back from slave. Like, neither do you. She's talked about people being Uncle Toms. So it is, again,
a cult. Well, you know what though? Well, I'm not going to say, because we should probably move on. But
I think we've spent enough time on this.
And also, I just get beaten up.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. This inability to actually click the videos back and forth like I usually do, because Google's got some kind of glitch going on right now, is really, really pissing me off. I'm just saying. Next up, Tim's got some cool stuff. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but hey, Tim, go.
I've got a little news blur segment, just a couple 3 short stories.
Play the music.
I
still have Sharon's old music somewhere. Never mind. Go ahead.
All right. Well, the first one is very quick. Apparently, Shaquille O'Neal is a 9/11 truther. Oh wait, he's not. Last week on the 11th, all of a sudden a blatant 9/11 truth post appeared on the stream on Shaquille O'Neal's blog, and it turns out Shaquille O'Neal's blog is full of just total clickbait. Like, it's even all caps, all the headlines.
Wow.
And it's like, you won't believe what happens next, and all this stuff. And it's all, like a lot of celebrity websites and a lot of celebrity social media, it's created by an agency for him. And I'm sure he creates some of his own more personal posts, but in between those, they create this constant stream of content to keep his fans engaged with the site, because that's how you keep a site in the rankings. You got to have new content all the time. And I guess they hired some 22-year-old nitwit at the firm that was doing it, who believed in 9/11 truth stuff. And I think it's that same slow-mo video that we did on a show way back last year when the Merseyside Skeptics debunked it. But it was that one where it's super slow-mo video of the second plane hitting.
Oh, yeah.
And essentially what somebody had taken the actual video and run it through a piece of software that would in between the frames and turn it into slow-mo. Well, the problem is that essentially 90% of the video is computer generated at that point. So if you start watching it very carefully, it's going to look weird, right? Because it's mostly computer generated. Well, anyway. Yep. So anyway, he fired the agency, and they don't do his website anymore, or so is the claim. But for a while there were a bunch of sites like Deadspin and Gawker that were saying, hey, Shaq's a 9/11 truther, who knew? Well, not really.
Whoops.
My second story comes out of Europe, and a lot of interesting privacy and legal rulings have been coming out of Europe lately about right to be forgotten and other type stuff that may or may not affect the United States. And this latest one had to do with a website in Estonia.
Yeah.
That had gotten sued for, and credit to Brian for calling this story to my attention, for some defamatory comments, apparently some really defamatory comments, to the point that none of the stories even try to repeat what they are, for fear of getting in trouble themselves. And the court ruled that the website was liable for the commenters, because they hadn't moderated the comments, which was very interesting, because all the legal rulings prior to this have said that if you don't control, that a website is kind of like a broadcaster or a phone system or an internet provider. You're just the provider of the road, and you're not necessarily responsible for what trucks drive down that road. This is a complete reversal of that. I'm sure there may be some appeals, and who knows, it may only affect European websites. It may only affect sites in Estonia, for all we know. But right now, in Estonia, if you run a website, you had better be moderating your comments, because you could be held liable for crazy stuff that gets in your comment section. So that could be a problem, especially comment sections on skeptic websites get out of control a lot of times. So that was an interesting story that was potentially worrying. And then a story I tweeted today. Apparently the folks on Etsy are all upset. If you remember a few years ago, like probably about 10 years ago, in the early days of eBay, there were a lot of weird things you could buy on eBay. Like, I think Hemant Mehta tried to sell his soul on eBay and then wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
And there was a fad for a while on eBay for selling ghosts in a jar. You could buy a mason jar that supposedly had a ghost captured in it. And at some point, eBay decided they needed to clamp down on this, because clearly these people
take down my store. It was horrible.
We were putting out 30 ghosts an hour.
I know, man.
Right. So, it's like, okay, how do you know, this is clearly some kind of a scam. So eBay clamped down and said, all right, if it's not a real item, tangible item that you can put a price on or buy somewhere else, I don't know how they have it worded, but basically you can't sell this stuff on eBay anymore. You can't sell intangible, paranormal goods. So all that stuff left and apparently moved to Etsy, which is another site and Etsy is supposed to be for handcrafters, people who like weave stuff and make wooden things, and you can buy some really cool jewelry and all sorts of neat things
with pure thought, negative energy. They're from our soul.
And there's a lot of neat stuff on Etsy, absolutely, but there's a lot of weird, goofy stuff on Etsy, too, to the point that there's actually a really funny website called Regretsy.
Yes, which is awesome.
That just looks for weird crap on Etsy and calls attention to it.
I like that about Etsy, though, that there's weird crap on Etsy. But
yeah, well, yeah, I mean... So anyway, nobody's sure exactly when they did it. It was sometime after April 23rd, according to the Internet Wayback Machine. But sometime in the last month or so, Etsy changed their rules, and now they're like eBay. If it's not, they used to say that you could sell sort of intangible things as long as there was a tangible thing that went with it. So if you were going to cast a spell, you would take a picture of yourself casting the spell, and the person would get the picture, or they would get a memorial certificate or something. So
that was me casting a spell. Sorry.
Yeah, here's your diploma that shows that you've got a spell. Well, now they say no spells. So all the witches are up in arms because all the witches that were on eBay selling spells.
Well, why don't they just cast some spells against the bad people and get them to change it?
Yeah, well, exactly. So apparently there's a big hoofra because Etsy didn't telegraph this change at all. They didn't warn anybody that was going to happen. They just put it into the rules, and then they started closing people's stores and sending them emails and say your store is closed because you're violating the rules. And it's like, what rule? So there's a bunch of angry witches right now on Etsy. So. If you're looking for an angry witch,
doom and gloom
that's
is on
where
the way, apparently, for Etsy, because piss off the witches are just going to cast spells at you.
Have pitchforks now. This is a change.
That's all I got. I thought that was hilarious.
That is okay. So you can still get your hillbilly Django wash, right?
Nope.
What? I don't know about that.
That was the funniest thing ever on the internet.
On Regretsy, yeah.
Regretsy.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I missed that
Well,
one.
no, actually, it was a comment on something on Etsy.
A review.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Regretsy, if you want to see some weird stuff and laugh, I highly recommend Regretsy.
Oh my god, that's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. That was a good collection of stuff. Last but not least, what we're gonna call him?
Fabulous, posthumous.
No. What was your
Some
title?
call him Bob.
No. Okay, Bob. Fine. What was your title, Bob?
Wait, Bob. We got to continue annoying Bob by stopping him.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
It's been called to my attention that Regretsy is no more, unfortunately.
What?
Oh!
No.
April Winchell shut it down a while back. I had forgotten about that. There is a Tumblr called Missing Regretsy. Tumblr.com that for a while apparently was caching some of the old stuff from Regretsy, and I'm sure you can dig it out of the Internet Archive. So the stuff is still out there, but the site itself is no more.
Aw, that's regretful.
Yeah, it was run by a woman by the name of April Winchell, whose voice you've probably heard. She's a voice actor who has appeared in many commercials and other things. She's one of those people that you may not know who she is, but you've probably heard her voice on some TV show.
Did she have a radio show or something? 'Cause I heard that
start at all,
way back in the day she had a collection of weird cover songs.
Radio commercials.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
And they were, like kind of the lounge version of Smells Like Teen Spirit, has stuck with me forever.
Oh,
Anyway,
no,
yeah.
I'm not aware of those. I might have to go find those.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
So what are you going to talk about, Bob? Something about
Well,
diseases.
something about diseases.
You
It
gonna your
was
doctor this week? You're going to talk to us about your diagnosis?
possibly. It was World Homeopathy Awareness Week, which is
It
the
was.
worst holiday season.
I was not. I was kind of aware of that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
it's-
less than 1 million.
I can't wait till you go on stage. Okay.
Bite me, Bob.
All right. So, Homeopathy Awareness
Pout
Week.
now.
The worst holiday season, right behind the 12 days of ocular acupuncture and St. Goats's Day. Everyone celebrates homeopathy
Just
awareness.
Don't pronounce that one wrong.
Huh?
I said don't mispronounce that one.
Yeah. In their own way. My family, we would leave our shoes out overnight for Samuel Hahnemann to come by, and he would leave us nothing every year. Some people celebrate it by charging the parents of children who have died of completely treatable diseases with involuntary manslaughter and endangering the welfare of children. That's how prosecutors in Bradford County, Pennsylvania, celebrated it, at least, following the death of an 18-month-old named Hope Elizabeth Delosier in March. By the time the family brought the child to the emergency room, it was too late, and she was pronounced dead by a physician there. An autopsy revealed that Hope had contracted a fatal case of incompetent parent syndrome. It's a genetic disorder that complicated her ear infection, which led to streptococcus, pneumonia, meningitis, which caused a cerebral abscess and a terminal cerebral edema. Essentially, it sounds like the infection ruptured the meninges and allowed cerebrospinal fluid to encroach on the functioning of the brain. So she died of an ear infection. Between the strep, which is really painful, and edema, it was a really unpleasant way for someone to go. And so how did it happen? Well, according to a report in the Star Gazette, quote, the child's mother told investigators she didn't believe in vaccinations or other aspects of modern medicine, not because of any religious beliefs, but from her own upbringing and her own research. The mother told hospital staff that she treated Hope Elizabeth with homeopathic remedies and herbal therapy, according to the affidavit. Both parents indicated another reason they didn't seek medical treatment sooner was financial concerns. So we know homeopathy is not a treatment. We know that it can't even work in principle. It's so bad. The laws of pharmacology that allow people to overdose cannot exist in a universe where homeopathy would work. The very concept that herbs would treat disease is completely incompatible with the idea of homeopathy, where things get more powerful as they get more dilute. I was disappointed to not see a description of what homeopathy is in the article that reported Hope's death, so that people could understand what they're getting when they get a homeopathic dilution. People seem to not know what homeopathy is, and you'd think that they'd be able to grasp the bullshittiness if it was explained to them. My mom, for instance, wife of a doctor, flipped out when I told her that I did the homeopathic sleeping pill demonstration for my class once.
That's because she's aware of I was there, of the fact that sometimes there is stuff in homeopathic remedies.
That was not a point she made.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Moving on.
Take the argument offline, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, and then once I heard a celebrity's publicist claim, it was Shaquille O'Neal's, claimed that their client had overdosed on homeopathic medications, which somehow rang false. But yeah, so Homeopathy Awareness Week, it's stunning because the pills that you use to treat this are often given away by pharmacies. The antibiotics come in for pennies, right? It's a completely unnecessary death. It's very upsetting. You know, in a way, I feel for the parents. In a way, yeah, it's complicated. I have mixed feelings about it, but yeah. So what I'm saying is, and I know that perhaps our audience, you know, is not aware of this, that homeopathy is bunkum.
Bunkum.
Bunkum. Even.
Bunkum.
Yep.
Bunkum. Homeopathy is bunkum.
And I've included links
for saying that.
to some of that homeopathy is bunkum.
Yes.
No. I would be more than willing to take that one to court. I would love to do that.
Big homeopathy is coming after you, Bob.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that means it's ineffective. I'm worried about little homeopathy. So,
nice.
I think it's generous to call it bunkum. But,
yeah. I like David Gorski's phrase. It's the one quackery to rule them all.
So there's no volcano to throw it into.
Yes. So.
There's my
well, you could, but it's just water. It would just sort of fizzle and be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I include a link in the notes to Tim's compilation of deaths that involve homeopaths. It wasn't all directly, you know, homeopathy, but a lot of homeopaths offering really bizarre advice and really bad advice on whatstheharm.net.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't. And I was going to include a link to people who died of strep because there's apparently a Wikipedia page on it, and most of them are like in the 19th century. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's embrace the modern medicine, and that would be nice.
Yep. Mark Price made a comment on. I'm trying to change the camera. There you go. Mark Price made a comment on Twitter. Wouldn't an actual court case about homeopathic OD be good? Homeopathy thrives when you don't know what it is. So I guess a court case would bring out all the information.
Potentially.
Or the details.
I don't know.
Knowledge.
I would love to see something like that, though. I would like to see, you know, someone, you know, kind of like the way the power balance thing, you know, if you could make a complaint to someone about this being, you know, basically a gigantic fraud.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess I think a lot of the knowledge is out there, and the people that need to hear this or need to know the truth wouldn't listen to it. Maybe.
I don't know.
That's the way a lot of stuff goes.
I think that a lot of people would be really mad, or maybe I'm just a reactionary, you know, like maybe a lot of people would be really mad if they realized like how deep the fraud in fact is, and they wouldn't, you know, like, well, then why are they doing this?
Yeah, and
you know,
the fact that it's not regulated or isn't clamped down on. They're like, well,
it's exempt from regulation.
It must be legit. The FDA would step in and can't put them. Yeah, if it was fraud,
not so much, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay then. Okay
right.
then. That's everybody. Let's do our wrap-up stuff because you know that's what we do at this point. First up, did anyone get the trivia question?
Nathan got close. He didn't have all the details that I was looking for, but he correctly got that it had to do with the name of the organization. Both.
So partial credit.
Partial credit. He definitely gets partial credit. He gets 1/2 of our worthless prize.
So we all clap with one hand.
And what those two organizations did, Comité Para last year and CICOP the year before, they both removed the word paranormal from their name of the organization and changed it to pseudoscience, or in Comité Para's case, parascience.
Okay.
Viewing that people aren't that concerned with the paranormal as much as they were in the 70s, but bad science is always a problem. So
Well, it's nice that they didn't have to change their initials.
Oh yeah, all that
for
stationery.
Chicago.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay then. So congratulations, partially, Nathan. Nobody seemed to guess the videos behind me, and I guess they didn't notice all the dinosaurs running around back there, because it seemed pretty obvious to me this would be an easy one.
Wait, there was one.
Really? I missed it.
Pierre on the YouTube comments said one of them was Jurassic Park.
Yes, one of them is Jurassic Park. The one
that said Jurassic Park.
The one that said Jurassic Park, which is it's the one on my right, is the old Jurassic Park trailer. And you see they're digging up dinosaur bones. Look at that right there. The other one is Jurassic World, which just came out last week, which is, I would say,
made $1 billion.
Yeah, it was equally as fun as the old movie. Made a little less sense, but still kind of fun. It's just a generic action summer blockbuster movie. So there you go. Congratulations, Pierre. Let's see, who is it? Pierre Cloutier. Pierre Cloutier. Congratulations. You get a full clap, even though you only got half of it. Well, I'll give you a half clap. There you go. So, announcements, and guys, get your books. I only have one announcement on my list. That is this Friday. That's 2 days from today, the 19th, is the deadline to register for your hotel rooms for TAM 13 in July at the group rate. So if you're planning on going and you want to get a hotel room at the discount rate for the conference, better get on it, dude. Anyone else have any announcements? Anything going on? No? No skepticality? No con? No...
Even I
will
kind of
be...
on a hiatus.
Oh, that's right. There is yeah, that's true. Bob and Eve are in the process of changing geographical locations, which is going to enhance with our schedule. So what exactly are the
backgrounds are going to change?
Whoa, that's going to just really the lack of white walls behind them is going to, well.
No, I'll find a good white wall.
I've grown used to that kitchen. I'm just saying. So the dates involved. What dates are they?
I think we'll be here next week, and then we're leaving the next day, right?
Well, we're not leaving the next day.
Or moving. Okay, yeah.
But like 2 days, because it's like you're gonna be out without internet connection one of those days or something like that. So
yeah.
Well, we won't be. 2 weeks from today, we won't be in our new place yet. So
yeah.
Right. So we will be here next week. We may be totally unprepared, but
okay. Yeah. So there will be some shuffling. Yep. So there will be some shuffling. Anything else? I don't see anyone chiming in. So book time. Who's going first? What? You got something?
Oh, I was just going to say I'm going to be speaking at TAM, in case I hadn't already said that.
Awesome.
So there's a good reason to register your hotel room.
To get your hotel room so you can go see Tim. I am not going to be at TAM. I have, unfortunately, other things that keep me away.
Is Richard Saunders going to be there?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
As a matter of fact, he is.
So you can get Tim Tams at TAM when you go see Tim at TAM.
Go see Tim at TAM and get some Tim Tams.
I was wondering where you were going with that, Bob.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a bit of a stretch. I'll give you that.
That was impressive. I say that with all enthusiasm. Go, Tim.
Feeling tense with confusion or disapproval, sweating, or suffering stomach aches? Then maybe bioenergetics and/or biofeedback is for you. These therapies focus neither on the where and when or the here and now, but on manipulating physiology to change emotional patterns. Bioenergetics owes its beginnings to Wilhelm Reich, another Freud dropout who had begun to work on quote, character armor, unquote, and the, quote, energy economy of the body, unquote, in the 1940s. The goal of bioenergetics, as well as of Reich-induced therapies such as Rolfing and the Alexander technique, is to relax this armor, deepen the patient's breathing, and release his life force. The latter entails getting in as many orgasms as possible.
Okay. Bob?
I'm glad I didn't have to follow that.
I know.
Yeah. In seeking to curry favor with labor, communists employ tactics for calling for immediate demands such as higher wages, a shorter work week, increased vacations, and an abolition of the high cost of living. To that end, a communist labor tactician calls for putting, quote, ideological differences aside in order to work together in behalf of a single immediate objective or a number of immediate objectives. The unions must work together. The immediate demand tactics are also employed by the communists to find favor with Negroes by urging the abolition of Jim Crow laws, full representation, and the fight for Negro rights. The controversy on integration has given the communists a field day. The Communist Party USA has been and is engaged in an all-out war against American freedom. Its tactics of confusion, retreat, advance, infiltration, and hypocrisy are in full play. The attack is both legal and illegal, offensive and defensive, open and concealed.
Eve?
Great events first become noteworthy when someone tells their story. The sagas of Icelanders offer the reader extraordinarily accessible prose narratives from an ancient culture. Very old in subject matter, but very modern in approach. Written in Iceland in the 13th and 14th centuries by unknown individuals who give every saga its personal flavor in content and in style, and prefiguring the European novel, they also present us with a window to the times when the stories that make up a saga were told and retold by traditional storytellers, reshaped and changed according to the needs of the audience and the abilities of the teller.
Okay. I look up and see a fucking cop approach the driver's side of the car. I didn't even notice the police car pull over. Who would, necking with such a cool guy as Delmont? Jesus, the cops, I mutter in panic, but Delmont just smiles with confidence. Don't worry, he whispers. Watch me. I'm going to sell him a knife. I'm going to leave it right there. Go ahead, Tim. I got to change the camera. Clicking. There you go.
It's called An Incomplete Education. It's basically that thin and that wide run through culture and whatnot. So if you memorize this book and you can sound like you're not an idiot at a cocktail party.
Wow.
That's the idea anyway.
That's way more studying than I do for a cocktail
It's a silly, silly book.
Wow. Bob?
Mine was J. Edgar Hoover's Masters of Deceit.
Wow.
I know.
Oh boy.
He was a delight.
By the way, Bob, what font are you using for your lower third?
Eh?
It says Robo Blask.
Yeah, it
Oh,
looks
I
like
don't
it's
know.
written in Klingon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is.
And I kind of look very low res.
Yes, I think that's
Yeah,
why.
well, that's why the font
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
good. You're very
I
low
think
res.
this is I'm like 8-bit. This is nice.
Yeah.
8-bit Bob.
This is Bob after he's been abducted by the machine.
I'm yeah, I got turned.
Should add Tim's sound effects from earlier.
Yes.
I can't wait to go hear that.
Go ahead. What's your book, Eve?
The Vinland Sagas, or the Introduction to the Vinland Sagas, by Easley Sigurdsson. Quote's translation.
Okay. Awesome. Mine was a book called Car Sick by John Waters, who is a Baltimore local, fun, creepy guy. This book is about his, a few years back, he spent the entire year hitchhiking all over America. kind of incognito, kind of, sort of. If people recognize it, he went with it. But he did all kinds of crazy shit and wrote a book about it. And it's actually very funny and interesting. So that was actually him that was in the car necking with Delmont. So there you go. That's an image I'm going to leave you with. Is that everything? That's everything. Any questions? No, I don't. I think we're done. So I'm going to put the logo up. Thanks everyone for, as usual, for tuning in and watching us do our silliness and interesting, silly and interesting. That's what we are.
Our interestingness.
At the virtual skeptics. There's the logo. There's the music. Virtual Skeptics is an independent production of What'sTheHarm.net, Skeptical Vanities, myself, ICBS Everywhere, and Doubtful News. Our logo was designed by Sarah Mayhew at sarahmayhew.com, and our theme music is by Music Kent and used with permission. Guess I should push the button now. Okay. Pushing it now.